I was hired in 2018, which was the spring semester of my sophomore year.
I was hired as a little sophomore in the beginning of the spring 2018 semester, so I've been at the Writing Center a little over 2 years.
I was hired the spring of my sophomore year, so February of 2018.
I was hired in 2018, my sophomore year, spring semester.
I was hired in the fall of sophomore year.
I was hired at the Writing Center at the beginning of my sophomore year, so I worked there for about 3 years.
I'm pretty sure I was hired in 2017. That's what I keep writing on my resumes. It was at the end of my freshman year when I joined the Writing Center.
I've worked at the Writing Center since January 2017, and I'm currently a graduate assistant.
Well, I'm thinking now back to when I was first hired at the Writing Center, and that was my second semester freshman year, so that was spring 2016.
Over the many semesters that I've worked at the Writing Center, it has definitely gifted me many skills. One being collaboration skills, another being communication skills, and thirdly, I'd say learning how to improvise. As we know, sessions don't always go our way, and we have to learn to guide a client in a certain direction that we feel is helpful or beneficial to them. But the biggest takeaway, and something I'll always be grateful for, is the friends that I've made at the Writing Center. There's no other people I'd rather be surrounded by and learn from on a daily basis. And they've always been so supportive, and that is something that will always resonate with me and will be around for a lifetime.
I would say my biggest takeaway from my work at the Writing Center is it's seeing and truly experiencing the power of collaboration on both the end of the client and the consultant. Because oftentimes, clients come in obviously wanting help on their writing, but they end up teaching us so much too, whether it is about the topic that the paper is on or just about how they learn and process information. It truly is an amazing experience every day to have a different session where you get to learn something new and also be so fulfilled in helping someone else achieve confidence and learn new skills. And I hope to bring this energy and constant openness to learning into my career and even future personal life, and I have the Writing Center to thank for that.
My biggest takeaway from working at the Writing Center for as long as I have is probably knowing the importance of surrounding yourself with people who are probably just as curious as you are. And I think that's such a beautiful thing because you're constantly evolving and befriending people who aren't afraid to ask questions and feed their curiosity, just as much as you do. And I think that was probably the biggest perk of this job was the people and how fulfilling the work was when you did it with them.
My biggest takeaway from working at the Writing Center is that I learned how important it is for me to do meaningful work for myself and for others. And from a career standpoint, this was kind of like my first glimpse in doing really fulfilling work. And, it's kind of like when you walk into the Writing Center every day, it doesn't feel like work. It's fun. You're helping people communicate better. You're helping people express themselves, and it just doesn't feel like work for me. And I think that's kind of like my biggest takeaway is that if I'm doing something that I love and if I'm helping others, it's not going to feel like work.
I think one of the biggest takeaways from the Writing Center is definitely realizing how important it is to create this safe space environment that's warm and positive and friendly from day one for any workplace or place in general. I feel like it's something we really had and we really fostered, and this really makes any type of job no longer feel like work because everyone slowly becomes a family and team unit supporting one another, and I think that that's something really beautiful.
My biggest takeaway from the Writing Center was definitely the confidence I gained in my own writing and in my own ideas and in my ability to share them with other people.
So my biggest takeaway from the Writing Center, and hopefully I'm answering this right, is pretty much all the people I've met, and not only consultants but students. I never realized how much I love this kind of work until every day I was collaborating with different types of people, different types of mindsets, and it really allowed me to open up my mind to just having conversations with everyone and anyone, how to be patient with everyone and anyone. So I really appreciate that at the Writing Center. It's such a place for social interaction, especially that we're inside. That's something that I've thought about so much, how much the Writing Center for me was a place where I could be completely myself and talk about serious things, but also just talk about fun things and have a good time socially, but intertwine that academically.
So my biggest takeaway in working at the Writing Center has really been to be as intentional as possible in the way that I communicate and use language in my own life, and also just in the way that I connect with others. Because I've always loved writing and reading, but working at the Writing Center has really just brought that to a whole other level. And I think it's so important in the work that we do and the way that we can make students feel seen and heard and more understood than they might otherwise have been in the whole St. John's professor class system. And I really think at its best, the Writing Center consultants are able to give students more agency and confidence in the writing process. And I think that's just so important. And even if I never work in a Writing Center again, I want to bring that affirmation and empowerment in the people that I work with to every other aspect of my life.
One thing that I will definitely take with me from the Writing Center, being part of such a close community that really supports each other and gives very positive feedback, is that the learning process, and especially when it comes to writing, it's never ending, and there's always room for growth. So I think that being a part of day-to-day sessions, it has taught me that there are people who come in who really need my help in certain areas, but in other areas they're stronger and they have a better skill set than I do, right? So it really is like no one person is a better writer than another. It's just the different skills that we have make up the writing that we put out. And I think that there's always room to explore, and there's always room for improvements in one's own writing. And I take that with me now to every aspect of life. So the knowledge is power, and the learning process is truly never ending.
I have to say all new consultants should embrace those sessions that are tough and very difficult. At least personally for me, all my difficult sessions have made me a better consultant. There are sessions where I leave feeling, wow, I don't think I helped that person at all. Or that session, he wasn't really engaging, or she didn't give me the feedback that I was looking for. Those sessions always propelled me to ask different questions or come up with different ways to ask those questions and to try to entice them to wanting to or collaborate better with me. So definitely do not look at those tough sessions as something that is necessarily bad. You can only propel yourself from there.
Some advice for new consultants on what to do. I say always be open to opportunity, whether that is embracing a session outside of your comfort zone, developing a workshop idea, wanting to collaborate with a different department in the university, write a conference proposal. The Writing Center is just full of opportunity. It's absolutely amazing space. I think so unique within the university, unlike any other space in the university. So take advantage of the opportunities that you have. I guess that applies to college in general, but especially in the Writing Center, it is such a place for collaboration, learning, and advancing yourself as a person.
One thing I think newer consultants should do is to fully immerse themselves in everything that our Writing Center has to offer, whether that's conferences or workshops or, understanding and learning more about your regular clients. I think those are the most valuable things. And I think if you're going to walk away from this knowing anything, it's that whatever you're willing to give is what you will get out.
One thing newer consultants should do, I'd say treat each session with your client as if it's their first time in the Writing Center, meaning explaining everything thoroughly, being very patient with the student, and just trying to give off a great impression each session. I think that this is especially true when you start having regulars and you're seeing some of these students every week. I think that it's easy to get very comfortable with the student and maybe not being as energetic in sessions, or just trying, like, fixing things quickly because you're so comfortable with the student, and vice versa, they're comfortable with you. So I think one way to not do these things is just by treating it as if it's their first time in the Writing Center, as if it's your first time meeting them. You're going to try to give off that best impression, right? So that's what I say. Treat each session as if it's the student's first time. And I think that will help you kind of live up to certain expectations in each session.
So one thing newer consultants should definitely do while training is try to observe and shadow as many different types of appointments that you can by as many different types of consultants. So this way you could really get a true sense of, what it's going to be like to be an e-tutoring session, in an online or in a face-to-face appointment when it comes time to be on schedule. And I think it also helps to do this so you can gain as much exposure as possible to strategies that you could potentially use in the future, and see, what might work, what might not work for you personally.
For newer consultants, I encourage them to always sort of jump into the process and experience. Don't be afraid to sort of ask questions, get involved, really see what the Writing Center has to offer, because there's so much to learn and so much to do.
What you guys should do is continue to do group activities, become a community in and outside the Writing Center. When I first started, there was a lot more brunches and a lot more outside activities, so I really encourage you guys to build a community through that. And tutoring wise, I just think I guess trusting yourself, with that's what you guys should do. Newer consultants, you guys are here in the center and working here for a reason, and sometimes it does get scary, but you need to remember that you have support, and you have had training, or you are still training, and we're always growing. So whenever you're in a situation where you feel kind of stuck, or you feel like, oh, I'm not prepared, or oh, I'm having a bad day, just remember that take a deep breath. You are here, and if you ever need support, everyone's around here, so relax.
So when it comes to being a new consultant, it feels like a really long time ago that I was in my training process. But I think consultants should really try to be as spongy as possible and just soak it all in. I'd say, like, go at your own pace, be ready to learn a lot of new things and new ideas, even if you're someone who's really engaged with writing, and get to know the space, really. I mean, I think that's something you have to do in any new job, but particularly in the Writing Center, there's just like a lot there. I think that, settling into the Writing Center and settling into that position is really rewarding, and it will be for future consultants. And it's definitely been one of the best things for me about being at St. John's, is having this community and just this place to, like, think about writing and think about being creative and expressing myself and helping other people express themselves. So
one thing that a new hire definitely should do is taking initiative, in the sense of asking questions, especially if you don't understand something or something seems a little bit fuzzy to you. Ask questions. You're part of a community that supports and really is there for you to lean on. So if you're having trouble, ask someone, lean on us for help, and we will be there for you.
New consultants shouldn't shy away from sharing difficult sessions with each other and the other consultants. I know from my experience, I've certainly learned how to handle different situations, all because I listened to someone's experience in a session. There's no better way to learn than from experience, so I feel that you should share your sessions with each other as much as possible.
I say do not be discouraged by the sessions that are based in subjects that you are less familiar with or out of your comfort zone. Like for me, I remember being a newer consultant right on schedule, and I had a few philosophy papers, and I was like, oh my god, I don't know that much about philosophy. But being a consultant, you don't need to be a content expert in everything. Our job is to see writing from the big picture, help with structure, grammar, as you all know. But don't get caught up in the fact that you don't know the content, because that can trip you up a little bit. And you could remind the client that you are there for writing purposes, and then refer them to the other support systems at the university, like the Learning Commons or even their professor. So you kind of have to police yourself a little bit, but it's good to set the boundaries so the clients know that what we do.
One thing I think that newer consultants should not do is to never assume that your time is any less valuable than your clients, because I know that it's hard for us to have this mindset where we have this 45-minute time frame in which we're supposed to solve all of their problems and comb through every line of their essay, but that's not the case. And I think it's important to remember that and to look at you and your client as equals instead of subjecting yourself to time limitations or any amount of pressure that they are under, because you're not under any less pressure than they are.
One thing newer consultants shouldn't do, I would say, is just don't be afraid to use those strategies that you noted and picked up on while you were shadowing and training, just so you can, see for yourself what you're comfortable with using, what you've seen to be working for you, what you've seen to not be working for you, and kind of gauge and reflect on going from there for future sessions.
Newer consultants should avoid thinking that there's only one proper way to be a writing consultant, and to not try and emulate the way other writing consultants do their jobs. You need to find your own style, use your own ideas and own perspectives, and not think that you need to do what everyone else is doing in order to be great.
One thing you shouldn't do, don't be afraid to ask for help. Even in the middle of a session, there's going to be times where you're not sure if a comma should go there or not, and you need to get input from another consultant, and that's fine. And I think that not only should you not be afraid to ask for help, but maybe I encourage you to ask for help in times where you're not sure. I think in the long run, it helps the client better to get input from more than one person. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help. Even if you, and one way of doing that is by saying, hey, I'm not exactly sure here, but I'm going to find out for you. Just give me a second, if you excuse me. And then boom, go ask somebody, boom, come back, problem solved. And even if no one knows the answer, APA handbook is right there by your side. Google is right there by your side. Utilize these things.
Exhaust yourself in sessions. I've been trying to find so many ways to say this, but you shouldn't be coming out of every session like, oh my god, like I'm exhausted, like I'm tired. Like, you want to put in your best effort, of course. You want to collaborate as much as possible, but you want to collaborate. And in certain sessions, you need to realize that there are some clients who are not great at collaborating, or who feel like they don't need to, and who want to get all the answers out of you. And you should not only respect them, but respect yourself and say, look, there's limits to what I can do in a session, and I can only tell you this much before you have to start contributing. So remember that this is a collaborative work. This work that we're doing is collaborative, is discussion based, is not just on us. And sometimes in sessions we feel like, oh, this is all on us, like I have all the tips, but you're also just a student, so you shouldn't, going back to like relax, like you shouldn't stress just because they're the people we are working with. The students should also be putting in even more effort as we are.
One thing that I would say that new hires shouldn't do is taking on too much too soon. So it's definitely encouraged to be eager and to want to learn the process and how to take sessions and how to do all that fun stuff that you'll eventually get to do, but really just learning from the people who are already there, trusting the training process, taking your time and really going into work each day as you're training to learn and grow, develop your skills. So don't rush.
My favorite Writing Center memory is when a regular client of mine presented me with a gift at our last session. She was going abroad the next semester, and the next semester I was graduating. So to show a token of her appreciation for all the hard work we put in over the 3 semesters that we worked together, she presented me with a gift. And to me, that was just amazing. I couldn't believe that I had helped someone so much that they thought it was necessary to buy me a gift. This is something that will always stay with me. To know that I truly had an amazing impact on someone is unbelievable to me, and I just couldn't be any happier.
But I think what will always stand out to me about my time at the Writing Center is just the energy of the space. It is an academic space, but it is one of fluid learning. It's not one based in grades and competitiveness. It just has a warmth, a positivity, and you were surrounded with a community of coworkers that have that same mindset and energy, one of constant learning, helpfulness, and just wanting to be the best people they can be, and helping other people be the best people that they can be. So I think it is so unique, unlike any other place in the university, and I'm so thankful that I've got to experience the energy every single day coming to work at the Writing Center.
My best Writing Center memory is probably, well, just aside from all of the people that I've met and I've loved, and surrounding myself with these brilliant people, it's so fulfilling every single day. That's probably just an overall memory that I'm going to miss. But this one that stands out so vividly is a holiday party that we had. I think it was a year or so ago. And it was around the same time that the Bachelorette season finale was on. You can imagine how conflicting schedules. So we actually live streamed the finale. It was our whole staff there with all of the food that you could imagine, and it was just such a beautiful moment with people laughing and conversing and just fully absorbing the moment and just being there with each other, which was amazing because everyone that we work with, I've never worked on a staff that had loved each other more, so that was fun.
My favorite memory in the Writing Center, this is hard because I have too many favorite memories, but I'd say, of course, the connections that you make with other consultants. I remember there was this one time after a staff meeting where the meeting ended at 3, and then 2 consultants and we just were talking until 9 p.m. in the conference room. And, it's just like the connections you make are lifelong friendships, relationships, and, it's sweet. It's sweet to have that strong sense of friendship, like at work, So I'd say that was one of them, but also just like connections with students as well. I remember there was this one time where the student asked me if it was kind of like a prerequisite that you had to dress hipsterish to work in the Writing Center, because she said everybody dressed nicely, everybody dressed like a hipster, and would she have to dress like a hipster if she worked there? And I thought that was funny, but so it's just, I'd say the connections overall that you make with students, that you make with clients, students being your coworkers, and yeah.
My best Writing Center memory is definitely NUCA in the spring of sophomore year. My group and we did research on different types of strategies and approaches for sessions with non-native English-speaking clients. So it's just really, really awesome. The whole experience, going and presenting all the research we had at the audience panel, and also hearing the audience's viewpoints and perspectives to responses on questions we posed to them. So it's definitely something great to go and actually use what we took from all this to future sessions. So newer consultants, definitely try to do as many research opportunities and trips as you can. It's definitely something that you're not going to regret and you'll take with you after.
Favorite memory at the Writing Center is probably when we all surprised our former assistant director Allison with a gift basket of all the things we thought she would appreciate and like. We were all hiding in the break room and she came in and we surprised her, and it was a really nice, sweet moment and showed how much we all really cared for each other.
In the past year, I do want to say I really enjoyed working with our mini group, which was Zoe, Roshni, and Matt. I just thought about the great conversations we had and how in those hours together we really honed in and focused and talked about life and talked about the work that we do, but talked about it within our own sphere. And I thank you guys so much for those wonderful moments of conversation. I think that the general theme throughout all of this for me throughout this whole interview is that, again, the Writing Center is such a place not only for words on paper, but words in a community, and for ideas to flow and things to happen. And the Writing Center is so inspiring, and I'm gonna miss it so much. I feel like I'm gonna start crying, which I might later, and I might when I'm watching this again. But yeah, thank you for all the little group activities that we had in the group conversations, and even for the write-ins where we got to spend time together and the little celebrations.
I think my best Writing Center memories, because there's a lot always involve my fellow consultants. I loved being in Atlanta for IWCA 2018 with everyone. We were talking about Writing Center work and like exploring a new city, and that was really cool. But I also just love the simple moments of like sitting at the front desk with like a group of people who've like weirdly congregated to talk about something, or staff meetings where we just end up talking about like helping someone work through a session that they had. And I love when we're all just like put our brains together to make better work and more creative stuff. And I'm really gonna miss that for sure. But I think the strength of the Writing Center always lies in the way that consultants can be there for one another and just the way that we interact. So yeah. Ugh.
My best memory at the St. John's University Writing Center would have to be going into work each day and feeling like your voice matters. Being heard, not ever getting shut down. If you have an idea, one person supports you and builds on it. And even if you have an idea that's still in the wraps, someone will say, okay, how can we take that and make it better, right? Or how can we take that and put it into action? And that's one thing that I definitely hope to have in the future when I start my career as a teacher. But being a part of the Writing Center, definitely just realizing you do have a voice and people are listening.